Welcome back, everybody. It's Penny once again with more X6. This episode's coming out a little later than I intended because I've been in the middle of a heat wave for the past week that really limited my ability to do anything in this house since I can't really record without turning off the AC. But things have quieted down, so I'm able to get back into the swing of things. So last time we finished up our investigators and we started going into some of the alternate paths, picking up collectibles for other stages. I think for the first thing, we're going to continue doing that before we go into the lab levels. So the first thing we're going to really try and do is to collect our armor parts for X, because I want to show off some of those, and there's some special things that we can get with those. There's some parts that actually do kind of need X to get other parts, so we'll actually be working on those. So the first thing we're going to do is go to the secret area in Ground Scaravich. And this is going to be interesting. I mentioned before, this level is randomly generating a lot of its stage designs. Because of that, we're just going to have to go through it a lot of times, probably, and see if we can get the room that we want that actually has the X part that we need. You know, there's not much else I can really say about this stage from what we did last time, so it's just, you know, you'll get to see what the experience of going through this game and trying to complete everything is, basically. Let's see. That's not it. But this is new, so we will get some more rescues while we're at it. And, you know, getting some more souls here will let us at least potentially get to equip another part, to show off some of those abilities, but yeah, no, the heat, where I live, you know, this time of year, obviously it's been hotter than it usually gets just due to the effects of climate change. But the biggest thing that really has been, like, just getting to me, this year just was, like, so much worse so far than previous, that we were having days with a heat index of 105 Fahrenheit, which I think is, like, roughly 41 Celsius, so, you can't do anything like that. Like, that is just, like, you know, it goes beyond just being really hot into, like, full danger levels. So there was no way I was gonna just, like, turn off my AC for... I'm trying to think. This might be the one I was thinking of. So we might have gotten lucky. But it was dangerous, and I'm not turning off the AC unit that I have to record anything. I don't value, as much as I am enjoying doing these, you know, I'm not doing this professionally. I don't need to make a deadline or whatever, so I'm gonna just do it when I can do it. Okay. This was the path that takes us to the secret room, but I don't remember. I don't think this is the one that actually has the armor part that we need, so we'll have to come back through, but this is fine because I wanted to show off the different paths for these anyway. So yeah, you can potentially get this path, and there's nothing really remarkable about this one compared to some of the other nightmare stages, but we're gonna get to fight our good friend Dynamo again. Dynamo, what are you doing here? I came here for the nightmares. I'm attuned to the fashions of the time, you know. The nightmares are too dangerous to play around with. That's why they're worth checking. The nightmare souls are mine. And we're gonna do the same thing we always do. Whoop. If I can hit the buttons right, but... There we go. And if it comes to be to the point where we're gonna have to reset this level multiple times, I will probably start speeding up this game, but I'm not strong enough. Later. Just for the sake of us getting to move on and show new things in this game. But... so yeah, we at least got a few rescues out of this different path. I don't know if any of them have parts we need. I'm not like... I play this game a lot, but I don't like memorize every rescue and what they have. Overdrive, that is a limited part. Mostly, I think, good for X, but I think we could potentially use it as 0. I can't remember. But yeah, we're gonna go back in, see if we get a real level this time that we need. Cause yeah. I like the idea of this level having like a bunch of different paths, for instance. Like, there is something really cool to, like, you know, like in a Sonic game you get to take all the different paths like on different heights that really let you like explore a lot of different things in a level. I would like that approach in something like a game like this. I think that could be neat. And you know, there's ways that they've done it in some levels here and there, but the fact that the fact that it is random and that there are limited items in the random parts of the stage, just no fun. Comparatively. So yeah, it seems like we're getting a lot of the same ones we've already seen. But it, I believe it is in the armor part we're looking for is in the dinosaur theme section, so we actually also have to play a good bit of this stage multiple times through to see the RNG that we get for finding this part. Here we go. Let's see. Nope. And we're gonna go back in. Yep. Yep, and we're just gonna speed through some of those load zones. That is the beauty of being able to play it on an emulator, at least, is that when I have to do tedious bullshit in a game, and you know, sometimes I'm affectionate about that, sometimes I'm not. I am absolutely someone who is going to speed through it all. I use turbo functions in emulators like near constantly for games. Just because I have a lot of things I want to play, and, you know, it's not the kind of, like, hack that really bothers me to speed up something, even if, like, I can't listen to, like, the sound design in a game as nicely as you'd want. But any RPG that wants me to grind, anything like that, I'm absolutely just, at this point, usually going to speed through a lot of stuff. And it's something I would suggest if you don't like doing tedious bullshit in games. You know, it's very easy to just, if I wanted to, do this. But I even map it, since I play with a DualShock 4, I map the turbo hotkey to the touchpad on that controller, just so I can very easily turn it on and off. There we go, see? It wasn't too bad. Except I went the wrong way, of course. 0. I'll give you data for an armor program. Obtain all 4 programs to complete the armor. The one I give you now is the head program for the blade armor. It allows X to consume less energy as it uses his special weapons. I'm praying for world peace and for your safety. There we go. Just gonna collect those souls, and then we can leave the level. Because there is nothing else for us to collect here. There we go. Save that. And thankfully, that is probably one of the more tedious things we'd have to do. As far as collecting extra items. We'll get to see interesting new stage designs and stuff like that for the rest of these. We're going to get to see a real fun one next, because we're actually going to go over to our good buddy Shield Sheldon. So last time we came through here, we spent about, like, what, a minute and a half in this level, because it is very short. I actually need to equip a part though before we do this, just to make some stuff easier. Getting ahead of myself. So, last time we were able to collect a new part. We're going to remove this 0 part, and we're going to equip Jumper. Jumper, and Jumper especially, more than any other part in this game, is one you really want to have. It massively increases your jump height, which when you combine with something like Hyper Dash, really increases your mobility in this game. And for certain parts of this game, that is kind of non-negotiable depending on who you're playing as. So, for me at least, you know, even though I can do all the double jumping as 0, this really increases the speed I can get through a stage. So we're gonna make good use of that. There we go. We get to solve our fun mirror puzzle again, but this time, instead of going to the boss gate, we're gonna go down. And here is the second half of the level, which is entirely designed for getting to the secret path for this level. And it is even more laser puzzles. To make sure this laser turns towards me. There we go. There we go. And you get to see this enemy type that's only here. It's another one. You know, like a lot of these enemy types are reused from other games. Also, here's a secret. This wall is fake. And you go through here, and there's your part for X. 0. Now I'll give you data for an armor program. Obtain all 4 programs so that the armor will be complete. The one I will give you now is the body program for the blade armor. With this program, X will take less damage, and the damage X receives will be converted to the energy to perform the Giga attack. Please help X and save the world. This is our last part for X's blade armor, I believe, so we'll get to show that off very shortly. Also, I like the background in this stage. I haven't, like, talked too much about the stage design, I feel like, in my commentary, but, man, even, like, in a game like this, where, like, things were very clearly rushed, I think a lot of the stages just look really cool in this game. So you do get to enjoy some of that. There we go. And while we're here, we're also going to take the alternate path. Like, you're not going to get anything as fancy as, like, some of the, gosh, it's in, the staircase scrolling that's in, is it X4 or X5? I am blanking, but, there we go. And there we go, so get some more saves, and we got a weapon tank. Not really as important for Zero, but, you know, that's a sub-tank, but for weapon energy. So if you're playing as X, gives you a lot more leeway for some of his special weapons. There we go. And we're gonna see our friend Dynamo again. Dynamo, you are alive too? I'm sorry if I made you worry, but you know what they say, discretion is the better part of valor. We now have the nightmares and your imposter. Shut up, leave or fight. Don't be so angry. Say, let's see who has obtained more nightmare souls. Yeah, obviously, since the lines are unique for each stage, they don't really, care whether you've seen him or not in another stage, but I'm not up to defeating you. So instead of playing Zero for our next part, we will be taking a little detour and show off some of X's kit. Also, we did rank up with Zero, so that's nice. Got a bunch of stuff there. Ooh, including Double Barrier, which is nice. Double Barrier doubles your invincibility frames, so when I'm doing stuff like trying to damage boost over spikes, that's very useful. But we'll show off the intended route for one of these, which is a fascinating thing to do. I am going to give Zero Double Barrier while we're at it. But yeah, Inami Temple, and we're going to play as Blade Armor X. And we're going to have no HP because heart tank upgrades are per character. So we'll have to play it a little safe in this one. But here we go. So here's Blade Armor. You know, still has everything that we are using as X in the prologue stage. His charge shot in this one does that. When you hit an enemy, I'll have to show it later, but the biggest thing about this armor for X is if you press X a second time in the air, he will hover in place, and you can use that to do a dash in left, right, or up. And if you try to do an air dash just generally, he'll also, like, it replaces the air dash with this dash. I find this a very finicky armor to use in the game, but you do need to use the mobility of Blade Armor for specific purposes. Also, you might notice we don't have darkness in this stage because of the nightmare effect from Shield Sheldon's stage, which causes these little phantoms of Zero to attack you. Very similar to some of the Sigma virus stuff that happens in X5. Yeah, we're gonna have to. So yeah, the one cool thing about his Buster is that it can linger in place and do continuous damage to enemies. And it can, believe it can pierce through if you have multiple enemies like that. I'll have to see if I can... Yeah, it pierces through as well, so... On top of doing this, but if it hits like a guard... Ooh, be careful. Okay. Ooh, this is gonna be close. Oh, man. Let's see, do I have an E-tank? I don't. Okay. Rip. Too busy showing off the cool moves to properly clear this stage. There we go. Oh, there we go. We got better health this time. Come on. And there we go. Healed up. Thankfully, the next stage has a lot more health pickups, so even though it's a little longer, but... So, the thing, of course, though, with X having less mobility than 0 is it's going to make some of these parts annoying. Also, because I have this new dash, it can, get a little dicey if you're trying to do some particular kinds of movement, precise movement, if you accidentally hit the button. So, though the good thing with this dash is that it does give you some invulnerability, and you can damage enemies through with it too, so... Come on, there we go. Okay, there we go. Destroyed that rain, we get our checkpoint, and here's the reason why we brought blade armor to this stage to begin with. So, this path here, you can jump over with blade armor. You have to so carefully time that to not instantly die by touching the spikes. I'll give you data for an armor program. Obtain all 4 programs so that the armor will be complete. The one I give you now is the body program for the shadow armor. Take less damage again, it'll be converted to the energy form to Giga attack. It's same situation as blade armor. But we have finished that stage. Oh, one more thing I can show off with blade armor though while I'm here. There we go. So you can mess that up and die. Let's see here. We can show off the Giga attack. Which is, you know, it requires a meter to be filled up, as they mentioned, like when you take damage. It does a lot of, it's a pretty powerful attack. It does a lot of damage. They're different abilities depending on which armor you have from X. So that is the one for blade armor. I'll show off the other armors in a bit once we've collected everything else, but we got the shadow armor body part. Let's see, which one else do we need to grab here? So we need 2 more parts for shadow armor. And one of them I think I missed in Blizzard Wolffang stage, so if we're gonna have fun going back there. We're going back, well actually, before I do that, we're gonna go to Blaze Heat Mix, because there is something we need to grab from the secret area for this one. And that'll also help us in Blizzard Wolfang with the Nightmare effect. So, back to the wheel. This time, it should go a little nicer. Zero, by the way, also has a Giga attack. He can do that. Though it's not quite a Giga attack. It's functionally similar to X's Giga attack, where like you're doing a special move that is tied to the R2 button. However, for Zero, that was actually just the weapon that we got from Infinity Maginian. And you get to spam that a lot, and it's very good damage. We do get to deal with this now, this Nightmare effect in here. These are the blocks that previously, if you're playing as X, you really need these blocks to be able to access something like the secret stage. I think with Blade Armor, if you have the right parts, you could potentially get past it, but it's tricky comparatively. There we go. Of course, these blocks can potentially crush you, and, that's not good if you're, trying to run through this, but now we can just do that, and look at that. Much faster when we have all these parts here. Oop, there we go. There is a part that we could get by going up through there, but going through this path, but I'm not gonna do that right now. Yeah, see, that will crush you. So you do have to jump off of it before it hits you, and watch out for the ones that are gonna continue to spawn over you. Oh shit, wait. I have to remember which ability I used to break this. There we go, that one. Metal Shark player can break these. Because they will also block your path. Okay, we can scroll past that. And Secret Zone. There we go. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Zero has weapon energy, but the only one that really, matters is, his Giga attack. So I generally, don't even think about him having weapon energy in that way. Also, so the reason we came through that path was to collect that E-Tank. Give us extra health recovery for the later stages of the end game. Dynamo, you're pesky. You must be busy dying so many times. I won't die in such a trifle battle. You're always passionate. I want many souls, even yours. Ugh. This game was translated really bad, but it still gives some really good dialogue, is the thing. I love that exchange between Dynamo and Zero. I can't beat you. Until next time. And with that, we'll have some heat in Blizzard Wolfang stage, so we can get back to an area to grab the armor part that I somehow missed for some reason. There was no reason I don't believe there was a reason for me to miss it, but it's fine. And I don't think I'm going to have us go through every one of these secret routes, just because some of them are kind of boring. Commander Yammerks, I think we're probably going to skip. But, we get to show off most of them as we've gone through this. So, That's always fun. Well, actually, let's see. I'm trying to think who else we might be missing out of this. I don't think there's any others that we're going to be skipping, because we do have to go towards Metal Shark players to get the last armor part for X, but so we'll get to show that off again too. Whoa, almost died. Yeah, we just get to damage boost and dash through. Simple. And then we get to do, there we go. That was what I needed to hit. I don't know how I missed that one, but Zero give X this armor program. Complete the armor. It's the foot program of the shadow armor. When you press the jump button while holding the up button, you jump high and stick to the ceiling. After sticking, X can dash on the ceiling. This is tricky armor. Tell him to handle it well. Please help X. So yeah, that is going to be one of the special abilities of shadow armor when we get to show it off. And we will leave now because we have finished this stage. There's a pickup, you know, if we remember, there was a little tank that I picked up on some spikes previously in this stage, and you might not see it in the menu where like all the sub-tanks are, and you might be wondering what that is, but that item pickup in particular, it's the one on this screen right here that's on the very right beside the weapon tank. That's the one that doubles the effectiveness of healing items and energy items that you pick up, I believe. But before we go to Metal Shark Player, I am going to pick up an item in Commander Yammer's stage. We are not going to the alternate path because there's nothing I really care about there. But there is one thing we can get in like 20 seconds in this stage, something like that. And we'll just jump and dash through. Let's see. There we go. That's our last E-Tank. And we get the Life Recover item, which is probably the most useful of the limited items, because that is going to be... It also works like an E-Tank. It is a full recovery, but you can only use it once per stage. And it doesn't refill in the way that an E-Tank could fill, potentially. So I am going to equip that. And to the Recycle Lab, everyone's favorite stage from this game, for our last armor part for X. We do have to go through almost the entirety of this. We have to go through the entirety of this first Crusher part. So we get to enjoy that again. There goes our ride armor for the 5 seconds we get to use it. The great thing about having these hyper dash and jump parts does mean we get to speed through this section a little faster, though, by playing a little riskier. There we go. Played it risky, but here we go. And here, on this side, we get another massive chasm. This one is very tough to deal with because if you don't have the parts like I do here, if you don't have hyper dash, you will not make that chasm because it is way too big. And generally it's recommended, I think, to use blade armor to do this with the hyper dash part. But we can do this with Zero. So, the head program of the shadow armor lets you swing the saber faster by analyzing it. I hope we can restore peace. But while we're here, I will show off Metal Shark Player's secret area because this one is interesting to me. Of course, by interesting, I do mean that it is another Crusher segment, very different, but this time you get to use ride armor, and it's a full auto-scroller. The great thing about the ride armor is that, of course, the Crusher up here cannot kill you. The ride armor protects you somehow. But if you take enough damage as the ride armor in this segment, it'll break, and suddenly you have to play much more conservatively in this section. But it sure is an auto-scroller. And you have to deal with stuff like this. These blocks that if they push you all the way back to the end of the screen, you will die instantly. But I'm getting crushed to death, so... That is the fun of this stage's alternate path. But it is nice to just get to use ride armor, even if it's in a really, really bad segment. I always like using ride armor, even if they're not good in a lot of games. Ride Chaser, though, no, fuck that shit. Hate those. I would never want to do a motorcycle segment in these games. That's the one thing you could say about X6, is that it does not have any motorcycle segments, and that makes it better than a lot of other Mega Man X games that have motorcycle segments. The one in X5 in particular is just, I hate it so much. Long time no see. Sorry, but I will never go with you. Don't be cruel. By the way, Nightmare Souls, I want them all. I will get the souls that you collected. And that's our last time going to be fighting Dynamo also, because we have collected everything that we need to do our next stage. And I'm going to, there's something special I'm going to do before we, well, as we go into that stage, though, just so I can show off some stuff. Because this stage right here is probably the part where, the first part, where you're going to see how the level design of this game is extremely punishing. If you've thought anything that I've been doing so far was kind of ridiculous for a game, for like just the 8 stages that you go through, you're going to see something even more wild than that. We're going to use a save state first. As we do that, while we're here, I'm going to use just the base model X. We didn't get to see this one in our original cross through of the levels for X of getting 0. But you can just play as X with no armor. Also, this is probably my favorite track in the game. I love this track. The secret laboratory of Gate exists in a place like this. Let's move in. So here's where the, if you see in the background, that is where the space colony Eurasia Mr. Asia, right? Crashed from X5. Our radar condition seems to be very bad, and I can't get the clear vision. Can you find anything? I found a hole. It looks like it's inviting us. I assume the laboratory is below this. I don't think I can communicate with you once I enter it. Right, we are having much noise within our transmission even now. Just be careful, X. I have to stop Gate and his evil. So, X, also, base model X. He cannot air dash. You cannot air dash at all. You do have a charge shot. He takes a lot more damage than his other armors, too. It's like... I don't think you can beat this game with base armor X. I don't think you could do every stage with this version of X. I can show off his weapons, though. Jammer option. Magma Blade. Metal Anchor. Ground Dash. Meteor Rain. Guard Shell. And Ray Arrow. He can't charge these abilities, so we'll show off some of that with the other armors. So, this, if you don't have a jump part, you're like wondering, well, how the fuck do I cross this? How do you cross that? You see, without jumper, you like physically, with this armor for X anyway, you pretty much cannot get over this platform. And you know, when I first played this game as a kid, I played as X. And, you know, I didn't really know as much about the Zero stuff until I like started poking around in it more. And this level pissed me the hell off. I was like, what are you supposed to do? Like, this is impossible. Physically impossible to get through, you know? And I'm just showing, like, multiple attempts as to, like, what it looks like just trying to cross this. How do you do that, you know? You know, you can use the ice block to give you a platform, but X can't actually, still, even with this, can't reach that. So, one way that you can do this is to bring blade armor, and I'm going to show, you know, how that looks. We're just going to speed through all this again. Okay. So, also, with blade armor though, you can do this. It'll cause them to shoot indiscriminately. This is much worse than just shooting them regularly. Magma Blade. Pretty good screen clearing. Metal Anchor. Summon Storm Eagle. Also a good fun one that I like to use a lot. Ground Dash. Shoots a stronger one of those. Meteor Rain. Also, will hit through like that. Very random. Pretty annoying to use. Guard Shell. Does this. And when you press your blade button, it shoots at your screen like this. And they actually do go up and across the screen past the boundaries of it. Ray Arrow. Does that. Ice Burst does... It does a freeze, freezes your enemies like that. But we don't want that right now. So, with ice, with, you know, blade armor, you can kind of do this also. Even with blade armor, you know, because of the fact that it can't angle its jumps, you can, like, you know, I'm gonna try, you can try and like fudge it, but you really need the jumper part for this, if you want to like have a decent casual experience clearing this jump. But We're not going to do blade armor. I'm going to show off the last armor for X, though, which is shadow armor. The secret laboratory gate. Yep, we're doing that again. So, shadow armor X. Its regular buster does not shoot in a straight line. It shoots in this kind of tri-wave pattern. Makes it kind of annoying to hit regular enemies. He has a yellow saber, which is pretty cool, and it goes really fast. He has no special weapons. You do not get to use any special weapons when you play as Shadow Armor X. His Giga Attack does this really cool circular sword swipe. Because this is basically supposed to be like X, focused more on sword abilities. So even his charged buster is a sword slash. Pretty cool. Now the special thing, so you're like, you know, well, we don't have Ice Burst. How are we actually going to get past this thing, right? Here is the special ability of Shadow Armor X. You can touch spikes. Spikes will not kill you. Also, you can cling to walls and just do that. Also, you can do this. You can do methods like that. That'll let you climb through this stage. And, you know, if you don't know about things like the jumper part, you might think that you have to beat this stage playing a Shadow Armor X. Which I will tell you right now, when you get to the boss of this stage, trying to do the boss of this stage with Shadow Armor X is very, very difficult. Also, you don't have an air dash. So, very important for later stages if you play as X. You will not be, there's some stuff that's going to be really hard to do as Shadow Armor X as well. Also, yeah, you get to do a pretty cool tri-burst if you hang to the ceiling. So, you know, maybe your best bet to do stage 1 if you are really committed and can no hit, no damage the boss that comes up after this, which is very hard, very hard. So instead of doing any of that, we're gonna do this as 0. We've got our jumper, we've got our jump abilities, we can double jump, we have the vertical leap to get over these paths. You're gonna see the ridiculous stuff that I have to do to get through this as 0 though, with all those spikes, but Secret Laboratory Gate exists like a place like this. Same with dialogue here. Yeah, there's a big hole. This hole seems to be made for a big oaf to fit through. Assume the laboratory. Yep, same dialogue from Alia though. So lost our transmission. So is 0 now that you see here. Well, if I can avoid touching that spike. It still takes a few tries as 0, but once you get up past this first platform, it becomes much easier because then you can just, you know, you can just damage boost through this platforming. Normal thing to ask a player to do if you're doing this. You know, 0 can also cling to the, let's see, oh gosh. You know, 0 can also do that, and I think you can probably use that to get above it too, but the button combination as far as like wanting to do it, it's not it's not my preferred method for getting above that part of the stage, just because you lose a lot of air control, and you know, for me, sometimes that usually meant that I would hit the spikes more often than not, than just doing the double jump into a damage boost. So, you get a lot of enemies through here, a lot of lasers, just so much trying to kill you, we're not worrying about it. So, lava here. It's going to try and kill you, but if you just get to the stage before it starts rising, you don't have to worry. You have to hang to the top of the ceiling for a little while and wait for it to go down if you don't go fast enough. And now we are in another section where we have to deal with the lava. And we have to wait on it, because that lava will instantly kill us if we touch it. So we are waiting. And And wouldn't you know it, more lava. You have to be very careful there because of all the spikes that are on these platforms as well. So, I'm going to take it a little slow just to make sure we don't touch spikes and instantly die, because that's not good. And there we go. So you have to do all that. You have to get through all that, and having no air dash through that lava section is really rough as Shadow X as well. But the real kicker is fighting this boss. So this is the mother virus. And this is, you know, kind of akin to like your devil fight in a lot of these games. They are going to circle a room like this, and you have to jump between them. And they'll stop at a random spot, and these orbs will fly out, and they'll do some kind of attack based on the position that they stopped in. And the position that they come out of their field that you can't damage through. And see, sometimes they'll make the floor lava, which will damage you. Without an air dash, well, without a good dash ability, it's really hard to jump between them. And without having any special weapons or like good ways to damage these Shadow Armor X, it takes a long time to do this as well. Also, once you get them below half health, they stop stopping at the corners, so you have to move even faster. And we destroyed one, so that at least limits some of the attacks we're going to deal with. Oh, and see. And at this point, that one is going to keep moving even in this phase where I'm supposed to try and damage it. This is probably the fight where the fact that I have this Black Armor Zero that has double defense is most important, because you take a lot of damage in this fight. And I might still need to E-tank if I'm not careful. Yeah, we're gonna E-tank. not trusting that. There we go. So we've only got like 3 stages to go. I think I'm probably just going to go ahead and finish this off, and we'll have this be a 3-parter. It'll be an extra long episode, but I don't know if I have a lot of time that I'll get out of doing just the last 3 stages. One stage will be pretty annoying, but so here we go. We actually made it to gate. He's going to reveal the secret. Oh, a piece of Zero's body. This heart-shaped little block. His DNA data. Tried using the latest technology. A very fun thing is that, Trying to make sure I double check this so I'm actually saying the correct thing. Gate is voiced in this game by Keiji, the late great Keiji Fujiwara. And Hi Max, who we fought earlier, also has a very fun voice actor credit for this game too. So getting like a villain Keiji Fujiwara is pretty fun for me. I've always liked Gate, even though it's like a very silly story here. His design is real fun, especially when we see some stuff later. It was very funny. I, for a while, played the really, really, really bad Rockman X Dive gacha game, which adds a lot of RPG mechanic bullshit to Mega Man X, which I just don't think works, because I don't having to deal with, like, sponge bosses and things like that, that expected you to grind and roll the gacha to get good characters and stuff. It sucked. It was bad. However, I did cheer every time that they would acknowledge that this game existed. And they added Gate, I think, at one point. They've had X armors from that game. They had the Nightmare Zero as well. Every time they added things like that to that game, I was delighted. Just because I am this person who has all this affection for this game, even though it probably doesn't deserve it. But yeah, I mean, I didn't really have anything to say about the story. If you're expecting me to say anything about the story, I don't know. Like, I love this game. It's not really why I play this game, even as one of my favorite games. Like, but so here's the thing that's interesting going into this next stage. This next stage of the game is, I believe it's this one. I'll have to make sure. But depending on who you play as, whether it's X or Zero, it might not be this stage, it might be the stage after. But depending on if you play as X and Zero, there are stages in this part of the game that are different depending on which character you bring. Like, they will give you entirely different stages, which I do find fun. Also, we do get some more of these little guys back. Oop. They like have a million of them guarding this item right there, which is like a massive heal. Massively fills your subs tanks. We can keep going through. So, this section right here, it's totems, right? But if you have a good jump, you can do this. And you can, this part wraps all the way around the screen and then comes back up here, which I can show off real quick. There's more of these. You know, you can come back through here. You can deal with all these totems and these floating platforms. You could do all that, and so you go back down. There's like 3 of those totems you have to go through. Or, if you just jump right, you can skip through and just come right to this. Also, thanks to damage boosting and this particular platform, you can just stand right there and kill it, like we did kind of similar in one of the previous stages. This part is going to suck. This is the part that I'll probably be if I die, this will be the part I die the most on. We can, we're also going to use our big jumps to push through this right here. Oh, yep. This right here, that little platform section right there is, to me, that is the most difficult part of this game. So, we'll see how long it takes me to get through it proper. Yeah, we can't die if we stand close to the totem like that, so thankfully we can just... Gosh. So the thing about this section is that having that extra jump does kind of unfortunately bite us in the ass, because you have to have like such a very fine precision control over your jump. And yeah, there's plenty of times when I play through this game and I game over this part a lot, and then have to keep going back through, do it again. But at the very least, like, if you know how to skip the majority of this section, you know, it does become a lot more bearable. But that is just refusing to engage with the game in some ways, you know, that as it was made, they kind of wanted you to go through all this platforming and all that, but I don't know. Biggest X6 fan only plays it through, you know, exploits and stuff like that. There we go. That's what we wanted, actually. We wanted to get that timing. So. And ironically, that's the end of the stage. But I mean, you know, like, yeah, I break through stages, I exploit glitches and stuff like that, but like, part of the fun of this game is in like a lot of the, like, you know, it's difficult, and there's a lot of ways that you can just like do a lot of really cool things with the movement tech and all that, so I like doing that, you know. But it's high max. Just die, original one. What is he saying? Anyway, it's time to finish. So high max, by the way, so he has a different ability now. I'm actually just pulling up the thing for a second. But high max, just to make sure I also have this right. So to damage high max, you have to hit him with a special with 0. It depends on if you're playing as X or 0. But to do this as X, you have to hit him with one of your special abilities, like this, and then hit him with your saber. With X, you have to do it in a different order. With X, you have to hit him with a charge shot, and I can't remember if the charge shot of base model X and Falcon work, but you have to hit him with a charge shot to stun him, and then you hit him with a special weapon. Also, he'll shoot Death Ball at you, and if you break it, it'll start shooting more orbs at you. Let's see. We can use our life recover. But High Max is, in this game, he is voiced by, that is Norio Wakamoto playing as him. So another, like, really fun voice pick for this game. It's kind of, though, unfortunately, High Max is a very slow and repetitive fight in some ways, because you can't, if there's a glitch, I don't know it off the top of my head, but I don't, just because it's a little hard to do the stuff like, you know, doing this. Let me see. He has some abilities that I can, if I give him the chance to move around. Let's see. Come on. Nah, he's not gonna do it. And there we go. We have 2 more stages to do before we complete this game. yeah, you could beat high max earlier, and you know, unlock these stages. Beating high max though, it is going to immediately lock you into the end game, or you have to do these stages back to back. So hope you had enough energy, and I mean, it's not going to matter as much because thankfully the continue system in this game is decently generous. As I've mentioned, you know, you're not going to lose progress or have to redo everything if you die a lot here. This stage, though, this is the stage that if you're playing as X or if you're playing as 0, and I just died because I forgot that was the spot you have to crouch. Depending on if you're playing as X or if you're playing as 0, you actually have a completely different stage here. With 0, you get to deal with the fun crushers. With X, I'm trying to remember what X's thing is. I think it might be rain, or I think it might be a rain stage. Can't remember off the top of my head, but the thing is, the stage 3 here of the lab for X is probably the moment where it is like more than anything, it is like maybe the moment where your armor choice or your parts availability will make the game basically impossible to complete. If you remember, we had that moment in Metal Shark Player grabbing that armor where we had to cross a giant chasm and we needed, you know, the big jump, the big boost, all of that. Also fun to do here. You get another chasm like that with X, but the difference is that in the middle of that chasm is a block, like a block attached to the ceiling, and it breaks your jump. You know, it breaks your dash. You have to do kind of a dash from the left, from hanging like I'm hanging on this block right here. You have to kind of go under it and then air dash. And it's still like half of the length of that gap from that block. And with X, that jump is kind of impossible to do if you don't have, like, you pretty much kind of have to, you need the parts, I think, if you want to run anything other than blade armor. And if you don't have the parts and run blade armor, I think it's like a pixel perfect, like, alignment to reach the platform to get it. And it is, I've seen so many people struggle at that particular spot as X. If you're interested, like, look up someone playing Gates Lab as X, and you'll see what I'm talking about. But here we are at the end of this with 0, and we're going to be fighting Gate. All of my Reploids have already been destroyed. I confess that I have nothing to use. I couldn't analyze you enough, or should I say it was impossible to analyze you completely. It is too dangerous to put my DNA to use. You must have been aware of that. Delete all the remaining program you have. Not yet. Just give me one more chance to fight you. I've never thought I'd be able to fight the original one. This is a long-awaited opportunity. Fight me, 0. It is useless to fight you anymore. Just give up and surrender. I won't. I'm so close. Prepare yourself, 0. Ugh. I love Gate's theme. So Gate flies around in a random pattern, and he shoots orbs at you. If I attack Gate like this, I cannot damage him. You have to break these orbs, and they only fly out in a specific pattern, the orbs, and you have to hit them with them. If you don't break these orbs, they have their own special stage effect. And I might let some of them run so we can see what they do. But they kind of make your life hell if you don't break the orb. And Gate can sometimes just run around and not. So this one is going to start shooting me. One of the orbs, I think it's, I can't remember if is it this one? Okay, I don't know what that one does. One of these orbs, like, will suck you in, and because this is all, like, super tight platforming with a bottomless pit beneath you, you can, like, immediately get knocked down and fall. You know, you can lose your place. There we go. Now, he's below half health, so we need to be careful, because he'll do this, and if he hits one of these platforms with that ability, it'll break. Let's kite him over here. And you're at his whim for when he wants to actually hit you with an orb. There we go. Oop. Come on. Oh. One more, and we'll be done with this fight. There we go. Yeah, right here. You could especially hear this cagey Fujiwara. Well, we beat the villain of the game, so, you know, everything's done. Oh, shit. Sigma. Everyone's favorite. Gosh. So yeah, Sigma. He's the same voice that he has, like, I think in every MegaMan media. Makoto Terada, Mugihito. In this game, he's like, the direction they take with him where he's just like completely just like barely functioning is really fun. It really is just like, we're doing this again in a way that is like, we recognize how much this has been happening, that he's just like barely functioning. And then this scene happens. Isaac's dead. We get a mysterious old man voice. Probably not reminiscent of anybody that Isaac might potentially resemble from other MegaMan media. Thankfully, from here, you do get to, you're not forced to go immediately into the last stage, like we had to do multiple stages for going high max into gate. So if you need to collect anything still, you know, if you need to get any hard upgrades, things like that, if you want to grind out parts, you can do that. But we're going right into it. Last level of Mega Man X6. The Sigma stage. Immediately get the very eerie music for this one. This stage is not as hard as anything else we've done before. Thankfully, if I can properly move my character right. But we do get to do our boss refights. There's Commander Yammerk. Can't do this. He's weak to that, but it takes too long, so. And it's gonna be like that, pretty much. We're gonna try and speed through a lot of these bosses. I can show off at least some of their weaknesses here and there, but it's pretty simple. Blizzard Wolffang. We're just gonna do that. The thing about the glitches that you can do in this game is that they are fun. Like, that is the most important part. If a glitch is just like, because, you know, I'm just like using my index and middle finger to kind of just bounce back and forth on the circle and square buttons there. And that's a fun input to do. And it also looks silly. So I enjoy getting to do stuff like that in these games sometimes. Better than anything that involves, like, doing weird stuff on the D-pad. I hate doing that now. There's some tech in Mega Man 0, which is cool tech, to be clear, but to be clear, it kinda sucks to do just because of gosh, I'm trying to remember. I think it's Ground Scaravich's ability. Yeah, something like that. But that in Mega Man 0. If you hold down while jumping and doing a saber slash in that game, Zero will hold his saber out. And this isn't like a glitch or anything, this is just like tech in that game. That if you do that, if you, gosh, I'm trying to remember what his, I think it's that one. But if you hold the saber down while doing a jump like that, it does 1 extra point of damage. Let me see that. It does 1 extra point of damage to bosses. And so there's one specific boss that has a very difficult to hit, like, hitbox damage him, that requires you to jump already. And to do that boss faster, you have to, like, jump at him like this while holding down. Like, if I'm jumping to the right, you have to hold down and right while jumping and holding your saber out, doing that, and it cramps my hands every time I do that boss. Don't like it. That kind of tech, those kinds of things in these games is not what I like to do. I find that really annoying. So I don't do that usually. Yeah, this is the one where you have to, there we go. And, you know, some of the tech, like, there's dash cancels in this game. that I talked about before that also do that kind of like downright motion on a D-pad that I just... That is not the kind of sicko that I am for these games. And those kinds of like D-pad inputs are really like why I don't really play like fighting games a lot. Because I mean, all I got are these kinds of pads. There's other input methods I could use that, you know, would put my hands in a different position for those inputs. But playing a fighting game with like a D-pad like that, cannot do it. It just really bad on my hands. Yeah, we can just see much faster than just using his weakness. But after X6 came out, X6 was like the first game of the. It was actually like genuinely one of my first games. You know, I got played this when I was like 4. I had X5 too, didn't like it as much. I got X7 with like around. I don't remember when I got the PlayStation 2 and what came with it, but X7 was definitely one of the first games I remember playing on the PS2. And that game deserves its reputation a bit more. I would say, compared to perhaps some of these, compared to some of the other Mega Man games out there, like this one, IMO, but, X7, like, I don't know, it's weird. X7 is a game that is more boring than anything else. It is not bad, like, the levels aren't necessarily bad, but they're like really dull and slow, and that makes it worse than just being bad. Like this game, as everyone says, it's bad. The levels are really like poorly designed in a way that just makes them super unfair half the time. But X7's just like so boring. It is genuinely so boring. I kind of like X7. It is like it is a fascinating game to me rather than like necessarily a bad game. Like it's boring in a way that is something I think about a lot. Like the decisions and like the process that led to that game being designed in the way it was. I find that fascinating. I don't know if I would do a playthrough of it on here, just because I don't want to like just do a bunch of Mega Man stuff. I want to play new things, you know? But I don't know. The X series it's Mega Man's just always been in like a really interesting place in that way. This isn't doing anything. I don't know why I did that. Yeah. We'll just shoot him as we can, best we can here. Yeah. I don't know. If I actually had to like rank the X games though, like my bottom 2 is actually like I don't like X5, and that's just mostly me being petty, I think, comparatively. I'd probably like X5 a bit more if I played it more, but X8 is the one I don't like because I think it does a thing that this game does a lot, which is throw a fuck ton of spike traps at you. But what it wants you to do is like grind consumable items that rescue you from instant death once. And the way that the grind is so much more like present in everything in X8 pisses me off more than, say, the fact that you can grind in this game to get some extra parts that make things a little easier, in like the way of like, you know, like if you just play through this game with one character, you will probably get enough souls to get 2 slots. And 2 slots is really, like, if you want to be comfortable, is probably the minimum you need just to get like the hyper dash and the jump part. But you don't have to like constantly grind out money to get an upgrade or to buy a consumable item that will be used and you have to get it again to use it again. Like, you're not doing anything like that in this game, and it becomes a lot more tolerable to me. X8, I just was like so sour on how much like it wanted me to like keep up with consumables and like skill upgrades or like unlocks and things like that. I was just like, no, not for me. And I also don't like the stage design in that game, but it is what it is. Here's Sigma. He's a shambling corpse in this game, and he has this portrait. Is it X or 0? Who cares? Just leave. No, now you are mine. Silence. Such a pitiful Reploid. I'll still be able to destroy you. I'll put you out of your misery. So he's just like... He just kind of walks around like this. Trying to remember what his weakness is. Which one was it? Gosh. Was it this one? There we go, yeah. You just like knock him completely the fuck down like that. I love this Sigma form so much. Just so funny. Like, just completely, genuinely, literally, like a shambling corpse that's been brought back from the dead. It's so good. But after that, where are you? Show your face now. Bah ha ha, kid! I'll show you what terror's all about. Die, 0, just die, Zello! His mind is gone. I won't allow you to rise again. This is the last act, Sigma. There's just something fun with, like, going all in like that on, like, Sigma as this, like, just resurrected corpse that, like, is just going through the motions without, like, being kind of cognizant of it. Pretty fun for when your game is that, in some ways. He has all these ads. One thing that's really nice for this stage is that they can drop health pickups. So if you play it safe enough, you can... oof. There we go. Yeah, you just kind of want to hold the saber out and let it damage per frame. And you can do that. But we beat him. Wah! Yeah! It's useless. It is useless. You know it is, 0. You can't defeat me so easily. You know you can't, 0. Shut up. Just die. Bah ha 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 ha. I'll come back to fight you again. I will. Whoa. It's good. Oh. Really stupid. That was the final boss. Love all those cables. And with that, we get our ending. The ending is also different, based on a lot of factors. If you beat the game with 0, you get this ending. There are endings for X, depending on if you find 0 or not. If you've recruited him or not, you get different endings with X. I'm trying to remember who this mystery scientist is voiced by, but I wanted to see if I could find that real quick. Let's see. 'Cause I'm always interested in some of that stuff here. But essentially, does it say who he's voiced by? Yeah, Yoshinori Fujita. That's right. But yeah, it'll take a while to get rid of this.
最新のテクノロジーを使ったとしても怪しいものです。私でも完全に直せるかどうか。構わん。この辺りで手を打っておかないと。しかし、今は特に異常は見つかっていないはず。
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching me play this. You know, I'm probably not. I probably didn't like give it as a comprehensive or a, I don't know. Still trying, you know, figuring this out, talking about it, and what interests me in this game. I have things that I'm going to focus on. That maybe other people, you know, might notice things that I don't talk about in this, and I hope that, you know, you can find some interesting things that I don't bring up, or, I don't know, I'm like rambling and losing my trail, but, I don't know, it was fun getting to show off this game, even if when I finish this, I'm like, did I talk about this thing that I think is interesting about this game? Did I talk about this stage design? Did I talk about this soundtrack? That's whatever. But, I don't know. This game's always been dear to my heart, in a way that is, like, maybe a lot of bias, but also I just like being the kind of platforming sicko that has to deal with, like, ridiculously bullshit level design. As long as I get to have really fun movement tech. So Zero's gonna go to sleep 100 to 2 years from now. He'll wake up. As far as whatever the timeline of Mega Man X goes, it's whatever. They contradict themselves all the time, and it's fine. You get some fun scenes. We get this great song at the end of the game. I played this, and then I went into like Mega Man Zero afterwards. So I just had like 2 full complete things of just like really difficult bullshit, and that just really made me who I am, and I hope that like shows off in this. I'm gonna play something new next time, and we'll have fun with that, learning about a new game. For everyone who joined me, thank you, and I'm going to go off mic and let this play through to the end for the song. So thanks for watching my LP. I'll be back at some other point. Take care. Oh, actually, you know what? You know what? Let's do something fun here. I do want to show off one last thing. Saw that code and was like, I can actually show you something. So the other code you can put in at the start of the game, if you're not using Zero's armor code. You can have Ultimate Armor X. Real quick. This one pierces and it lingers. Very good. You have a lot of extra defense. To where, like, I'm taking this much damage. You have a lot. Your saber's really strong. And also, you get to do this. In X5, I think it is, that originates this armor. You only really, this was like your Giga attack, and so you had to like raise your meter to use it. But here, you just get to use it as a movement item, and it's great. You get to run through stages like this, destroying everything in your path. It's fun. Anyway, that was all I wanted to show. Take care, and you'll see me next time.